Thank you so much for the interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Sor spas, gelek spas. Thank you very much.
Fredrik, my first question is, I want to know what the core of the problem seen between Sweden and Iraq now.
Well, first of all, there are people in Sweden who ask for permission from the police. You have to ask for permission to do a manifestation when they want to burn holy books. And that is, of course, an act of intolerance. It is deeply destructive, and it is xenophobic. These people are not Swedish. The man who burned the Quran outside the Iraqi embassy, he is from Iraq. He is from Karakosh. He is Christian Syriac. Now, these acts, which are legal according to the Swedish constitution, even though I see them as deeply destructive, and it doesn't lead to anything good. But the response from the Iraqi government surprised me, because it is very harsh. They cut all the diplomatic all the diplomatic ties with us. They expelled our ambassador, and they even looked to the other side when thugs and bandits burned down our embassy, and they withdraw the license, the certificate for Ericsson to operate in Iraq, and I see this as very problematic, and it will not help the cooperation and dialogue between Sweden and Iraq.
Yeah. But can you avoid the incidents by not letting people like Salwan Momika to not burning Quran?
Well, you can, of course, you can have a legislation which says that this is illegal. In Sweden, we have freedom of speech, and even though I am very negative to this, I can see nothing good is coming out from burning the Quran or the Bible or any other holy book. But at the same time, the response from the Iraqi government is not in line with international standards. Actually, this man who burned the Quran, he is a product of the Republic of Iraq. He is born in Iraq. He was even enrolled in the Shiite sectarian militia group Imam Ali Brigades, which is part of the Hashd Shabi. He is not Swedish in his mentality or the way he lives. He is Iraqi, and this is Iraqi politics for him. And I think that Iraq needs to take responsibility also in this situation.
But Iraq and other mainly Muslim country say burning Quran and countries' flags has nothing to do with freedom expression. What do you say?
No, it's different in different countries how much freedom of expression you have, and you can see in Iraq, for example, that I mean, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, they live in Sweden. It is not the other way. People do not leave Sweden to live in Iraq. People are leaving Iraq to live in Sweden. And we have our society, we have our freedom of speech, our democracy. And even though I am deeply critical to these xenophobic, intolerant acts of burning holy books, for example, the response can never be that you go to another country's embassy and burn it down. Iraq has a responsibility they are responsible for protecting diplomatic missions in their country. We are responsible here in Stockholm to protect the Iraqi embassy. But Iraq also are responsible to protect our building. And now, if you ask me, the Iraqi government should pay now for a new embassy building for Sweden, so we can build a new embassy in Iraq. We should not pay for it. We haven't burned down our own embassy; they have done so.
Yes, but do you have any plan to change the constitution so that you would not let incidents like the burning of Quran?
This is complicated because if you want to change the constitution in Sweden, you need two decisions. First one decision, and then it has to be an election, and then another decision. So if we should change our constitution, for example, if you want to ban to burn holy books, for example, if you want to change that, it would take 5-6 years at least. So I don't think that is an option really. It's better maybe to stop people from burning these books outside mosques and embassies. Maybe they can burn it somewhere else, in the forest or in the parking lot or somewhere. But they shouldn't do it outside holy buildings like mosques or synagogues or churches, because it's a very provocative and intolerant behavior. And Sweden is a multicultural society. We have a Muslim community, a Christian majority community. We have different minorities, Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, for example. And we need to this is a multicultural society, and we need to respect each other, I think.
Do you think that the incidents would harm your relationship between your country and another country, mainly Muslim country?
Yes, it could, but at the same time, Sweden gives hundreds of millions Swedish crowns every year in foreign aid to Iraq. We have helped training troops both within the Iraqi army and also the Kurdish Peshmerga fighters. We have for years given asylum to Iraqi refugees. We have done so much for helping Iraq. And if the Iraqi government are not at all thankful for that and just expel our ambassador, say that Swedish companies are not allowed to operate in Iraq, okay, but we can cut this foreign aid if that is the thing. I don't want that. I want us to have a good relation with Iraq and to help both the central government and the Kurdish government in Erbil to flourish and to develop. I think that we can do much for doing that, and
You did it.
but so we do not want any problems in our relations with Iraq. So that's why I'm a little bit surprised of this very strong destructive response and reaction from Iraq. Yes.
How is your relation with Kurdistan region?
I think the Swedish relations with the Kurdistan regional government is good. The KRG has an ambassador in Sweden and a mission here. The Kurdish community in Sweden is very vibrant and dynamic. It's a big community. I think that hopefully in the future there could be official meetings between our Prime Minister and the Prime Minister in Kurdistan. I think that we could develop this cooperation even more. For example, between universities, or Sweden could help develop the agriculture sector in Kurdistan, for example, with new technology. Of course, we have other fields which can be improved. But with that said, if Iraq cut the diplomatic ties with Sweden, that means that also the ties between Kurdistan and Sweden will be cut. So,
but you know that what you think about that KRG suspends its mission in Sweden. You know that.
No, it's. I think that on one hand we have relations with Kurdistan as part of Iraq, but at the same time Sweden can have relations with Kurdistan as a separate entity. So even if we have problems with the relations with Baghdad, we could still have good relations with Erbil, I believe, and I hope we can do that, because As I see it, the northern part of Iraq, the Kurdistan region, is pragmatic. It has always been a constructive partner, and they, as far as I see it, the Kurdistan region has always been open for values like the Western world, Europe, United States, and so on. And I think that is very good. It's a partner for security and development.
And do you plan to restart the relation between Sweden,
Yes, I
Iraq,
hope so.
and Sweden, Kurdistan?
I hope so, really, that we can do that. And also there is in Parliament, we have a group here, Sweden Kurdistan Friendship Group. Every year we commemorate the victims of the Halabja genocide, for example, and we have lots of meetings with the Kurdish political parties and organizations and so on. And I really hope that Sweden and Kurdistan should have a strong and deep diplomatic relations in the future. Yeah.
Fredrik, what's your message to Muslims in Iraq and in Kurdistan? From here, from Parliament, Sweden.
I think that what we have seen in Iraq now, the latest days, with the attacks against Swedish diplomatic mission, it is also not only about Sweden, it is also domestic politics within Iraq. And Iraq has a very problematic and complicated political landscape with these religious, sectarian, clerical political parties. And I think that Iraq should get their acts together and get their political process to function better. And act in a responsible way according to the international Vienna Convention, for example, for diplomatic bilateral ties and relations, and not cut the relations with us. In the end, the first people who will be harmed by this is not Sweden. We are a well-off country. We are a rich country. We are not dependent on our relations with Iraq. But we have a big Iraqi diaspora in Sweden. They need their embassy. If they need a passport, if they have to go to Iraq for a funeral or a wedding, they need documents, they want to sell property or buy property, they have relatives in Iraq who wants a visa to come to Sweden and so on, then they need the embassy. It's bureaucracy and administration for ordinary people. And so if you cut these diplomatic ties, it will only harm the Iraqis living here. So I don't see why this, in what way this could help anything.
Fredrik, thank you so much for the